It's another episode of our Back to School Superintendent Talk series, and joining us today here in the studio is HISD Superintendent Mike Miles. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
I think this is your first time for the Superintendent Talk, so we're thrilled to have your insight and have you answer some of these parent questions for us.
Sure.
How was summer?
Summer was good, but it's still busy. You know, we have a lot of central office folks work during the summer, so that includes me.
The work never ends.
The work never ends, exactly.
At all. Well, a new school year is here. So what is HISD's focus this year? And is there a motto or a mission that you want students and their families to get behind?
So ours is continued improvement and sustaining the gains. So we've had enormous gains over the last 3 years. This is the end of the third year and the beginning of the fourth year of the intervention. And so this morning we had convocation. That's a gathering of teachers and principals, and we celebrate the beginning of the year. It's very exciting. And I also went over achievement gains over the last 3 years, not just last year, but the last 3 years. And they are pretty remarkable. And so we want to celebrate that at the beginning of the school year, but we also know we have much more work to do. We still have kids who are not reading at grade level. We still have students who are not doing math at grade level. We still have some schools that are struggling. So even though we've had a lot of gains, you know, there's 274 schools, and now there's 264 schools because of the school closures. And that's a lot of schools that we have to keep moving forward.
So it's interesting. You said reading and writing, there's still plenty of work to be done there as well. Math, too. Mm-hmm. When we looked at survey results with parents, reading and writing were among their top concerns. So what is going to be done in those areas to help students excel or improve upon their basic skills?
Yeah, so if you look at our scores in reading, we've improved in the double digits in middle school over 3 years, better than any other district in the state, and probably better than any other district in the nation. So
what do you attribute that to, such gains?
It's for a lot of reasons, but in the end of the day, it boils down to high quality instruction, effective teachers teaching, delivering instruction very well. And so that has made a lot of difference. Our tight curriculum has made a difference. We have a lot of text material. We have a lot of novels. We have a lot of content. And we've inserted science of reading into most of the reading classes, or we call it ELA, English Language Arts classes. So that has been making a lot of gains. Having said all that, we started way behind as far as our students' proficiency.
And that's why the intervention was needed.
That's why the intervention was needed. So we've made a lot of gains, but that's why I started by saying it's continuous improvement. That we cannot rest on those laurels. We still have too many kids who are not reading at grade level. So one of the focus areas this year is to continue the reading gains, but also to look at our students who are way behind. They're in the bottom two, we call it 2 deciles. So the bottom 20% of students who are lagging in proficiency. And many of those students need specific phonemic or phonics, phonemic awareness, literacy, fluency, those sorts of skills to be able to read. So we're going to focus on that this year also.
So curriculum was among one of those issues that parents cited concerns with. How is HISD going to ensure that the curriculum prepares every student for success? You talked about the students at the lower tier, but for every single student.
The curriculum has been one of our stronger suits over the last 3 years. In fact, because we have such a tight curriculum tied closely with instruction, that's how we've been able to get gains. And you know that in the new education system schools, the NES schools, 130 of them, we provide the curriculum. They're tied to the state standards, but there's also good, I'm going to use some education words, scaffolding and differentiation so that we can target almost every student. Those who are ahead get challenged. Those who are behind get more time. And so that's how we've been making these gains.
Some parents worry schools have become too focused on testing. with this curriculum. Are test scores the ultimate measure of success? Is that what the district is using?
If you phrase it that way, maybe it's not. Here's the ultimate measure. The ultimate measure is whether a student can read at grade level and whether they can do math at grade level. That's the measure. And so I ask, anybody, tell me how to measure it then. We have the STAR exam. We think that's a good test to measure whether kids can read at grade level. But we also have NWEA MAP assessments. That's a good assessment. We have DIBELS, which is a lower grade K1 and 2 assessment on whether or not kids can read at grade level. And then we have NAEP, National Assessment of Education Progress, which only happens every couple of years. By any measure, our students are reading at higher levels of proficiency, by any measure. So pick the measure you want, and that's the measure we'll do. And so this notion of preparing for tests, we don't prepare for the STAR. What we do is we get kids to read at grade level.
Do you think HISD is testing more than any other public school district out there?
No. I think, what we do is we do assess students, and we have what's called demonstrations of learning, which are mini quizzes. And if you count that, probably yes, but those are a quick check to see if the kids are learning the objective for the day. But as far as things like the STAR exam or NWA, we're about the same as everybody else. We need a statewide test annually, so almost everybody takes that across the United States. And then we have progress monitoring metrics, or progress monitoring assessments. So the NWA is done at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. And those are the tests we take, and that's very similar to other districts.
So you talked about students who are extremely successful in the classroom. You briefly mentioned them earlier. There's been a lot of focus, right, on bringing the standards up. There was a lot of room or difference to be made up for. But let's focus on advanced learners. We had a parent ask, how are you supporting them while helping those students who are struggling?
Yeah, so two answers to that. One, our effective instruction applies across the district. And you find that our higher performing students, especially our higher performing student subgroups like our white students and our Asian students, they are still improving. They're at a high level nationally. They're meeting achievement percentile. So where they fall among all other kids, our white and Asian students are in the 80s. And they have
But is that to be expected because of demographic standards that have been established across the nation?
To a certain extent, yes. Our more affluent kids land in that population of students. And so they have, my point here is that they've been growing also academically. Still, so we haven't just raised the floor. We had 121 DNF campuses when we started. We'll get the
DNF. Remind people what that
sorry.
means.
Yeah,
okay.
So in Texas we have an A through F rating, and schools are given an accountability rating of A through F. So obviously F is the lowest performing, failing schools. And we went from 121 to 17 DNF campuses last year, but we also went from 93 A and B rated campuses to 197. Mm-hmm. So that's not just working on the floor, that's also working on the upper end.
I want to go back to, because you mentioned white and Asian students, and someone who's listening to this, might be like, why is he bringing race into it? But we have to talk about the diversity of the school district as well, too. And that's just a snapshot of the students by demographic, I would say.
That's right. I mean, I'm glad for the question, because we have ignored the minority achievement gap because sometimes, administrators or board members think it'll make people feel uncomfortable that we're bringing in race or culture. And this district is 85% African American and Hispanic, and 10% white. So it's a majority minority district. And not only that, our Black and Hispanic students had a huge achievement gap. And if you don't want to talk about it, you can't. If you don't name the problem, you'll never address it. And, last administration and board members back in 2023, there was a 38%, almost 40% achievement gap between black students and white students in middle school math. 38%.
That's significant.
And if we don't want to talk about that, we don't want to bring that up, we want to think that the district is doing okay, that there didn't need to be an intervention. No, we have to talk about it. And I've always said our higher performing students also need a great education, and they need to keep moving up. Mm-hmm. And the way you close the achievement gap is not by bringing down your highest performing students. So that if
you would like to see more black and brown students in that high achieving group.
Yes, that's right.
And it not be such a small minority that looks a certain way.
That's right. And we have to name the problem, and then we have to do something about it. I think in the past and in the country at large, we have not been able to close the achievement gap, and people don't want to talk about it because they haven't been able to do anything about it. And it is, there's a little bit of
ruffle
national,
people's feathers.
And there's a little bit of national shame about that, I hope. That's a problem. I hope we should name it, and we should say, what are you doing about it? And then do something about it. We've been able to do that. We've closed that. We've narrowed that gap by 16 percentage points in 3 years. That's not enough. I get that. But you know what? 16 percentage points, give us another couple of years, we'll be in the single digits. And then even that we should work on. So we've been moving it, and no other district in the country, no urban district, has been able to do what we've been able to do. And part of it is because we've named it as one of the things we need to work on. In fact, the vision statement for HISD for 3 years now, going on the fourth year, has two parts to it. One, significantly narrow the achievement gap. And number two, get kids ready for year 2030, year 2035 world and workplace. Those two big things. So yes, we've been naming it for a while, and we're proud of our kids and our teachers for having narrowed it significantly.
You take a lot of heat, right? But you talk about a lot of success. Are you comfortable in dealing with these difficult questions from survey, from the parents, in knowing that you've seen a measure of success?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it comes with the territory, right? If you want to be a superintendent of a large urban district, you better be ready for some pushback.
And one that's been taken over by the state,
and one that's
too.
been taken over, yeah. I mean, that's something that a lot of people are just are going to be pushing back on, and that's totally understandable. The other thing, though, is in order to get different outcomes, we had to change the system. We have to change how the district works and operates. And when you make systemic change, that's when you're going to get the most pushback. So totally understandable, but also as a superintendent, you better be prepared for that. If you want to do the bold change, it's going to come with bold criticism.
Mm-hmm. I know the district has taken some criticism. I saw it in the questions within the survey and people's responses in regards to changes to the special education program. We understand that HISD's special education program will move students to different campuses. Why this change? Why move so many students? And why do you believe this model will produce better outcomes for those students?
Yeah, thanks for asking the question. And so let me there's several parts of that.
There were several questions, to be fair.
So let me tackle some of them. Number one, status quo is not good for our special education students or students with disabilities. What is status quo? Status quo is 65%. Well, let me back up. We're talking about the students who are, we call it self-contained. In other words, they spend most of their time in one classroom. They're not included in many of the regular subjects.
Integrated into a traditional classroom? Is that what you mean?
Yes. So now we have a lot of...
Not life skill. Are you talking about life skills students?
So life skills is part of that.
Okay.
Is self-contained. But there's a whole range. And some, we call it, we have a lot of special education students who are included, like in the reading class or in math class. There's a support teacher there, but they're with all the other kids in the regular classroom. Mm-hmm. And so most of these students we're talking about are self-contained, which means that they're not included, or they're included only very minimally in the regular education classrooms. That's the group we're talking about. There are 5,000 students who are in self-contained classrooms. 3,000 of them had to be moved, not 5,000, but 3,000. And so let me talk about the status quo. The status quo was the students in the self-contained classrooms were put into classrooms with several grades. So think about it this way. I'm a SPED teacher. I have 13, 14 kids in my classroom. I have a paraeducator with me. But I am teaching a kindergartner, a third grader, a fifth grader, 5 fourth graders, 5 fifth graders, 3 or 4 grade levels in my one class.
In one class on one campus.
And I'm supposed to, I SPED teacher. I'm going to do my best. I try to meet their services, but I also have to give them some instruction around reading and math to their level, to improve their level. And that's a near impossible task. That is why we're not seeing our special ed students do as well as they could. They are improving in their achievement, but it's so low. I think that we have not. The system is designed to put obstacles in the way of the SPED teacher and the kids. Imagine a regular ed teacher teaching 3 or 4 grade levels in their class, not with the same level of proficiency, with varying levels. That would be tough. Are
you saying that isn't the norm in other school districts as well?
No, I'm not saying that. That 65% of our kids, 65% of our self-contained classrooms had that situation I just described. I would suspect that in many districts it's similar, although many districts probably have less than 65% of their classrooms like that. In other districts, they also have what we call a hub model or special centers. So think about this. We have 5,000 students in self-contained classrooms. It would be next to impossible for every school to have all the services and instructional needs for every grade where you will only have 1 or 2 grades in there. So if you don't have a hub model where you have a autism center, a school that 4 or 5 schools send their autistic kids to, it's next to impossible to have an autism center in every single school. There's 264 schools. That's next to impossible. So we decided to do what everybody else does. I mean, we had centers, but when you have 200 and some centers out of 264, that's not really a center. It caused a situation where a teacher had to teach 3, 4, or 5 grade levels at one time. So we have placed our students in these centers like everybody else. And one of the things you and the rest of the media could do is to go to other districts and say, Cypress, Fairbanks, North Bend, how do you do it? Or do you have centers?
See what their special education model
is. Do you have centers? Or do you have an autistic program in every single school? Do you have a behavior center in every single school? And the answer will be no, they do not. They will have centers.
So this isn't an all-new model that HISD created. You're saying it looks very much this way in other school districts as well.
Yes, now to varying degrees of effectiveness. And in our case, because we're so focused on instruction, not only will we provide good services, we will help the teachers with good instruction. Look, I believe that all of us are disabled to a certain degree. We're all students with a disability of some sort. We're not all perfect.
I don't know if we all have a disability, but we all learn in different ways.
I don't mean a disability like the law says, the IDEA law. I'm saying that we're weaker in some subjects or weaker in some things than other subjects, or that very few of us are perfect and we can improve.
We all have areas for improvement.
And we all have areas where we might need supports, whether that support is a scaffold, whether that support is additional time, whether that support is after-school tutoring. We all have something like that. My broader point is this. Our students, special education students, can reach their potential. We should not limit them more than they should be limited. We should not say, these kids cannot learn, these kids can't exceed, these kids can't read, these kids can't do anything. We should not say that. And we should wait, we should push them to their potential and not beyond what they can do. But let's not lower the bar so much because we think they can't. Now, we've done that with black and brown kids for centuries, and now I'm asking, let's not do that with special needs students.
It's interesting, though, because with the changes to special education within HISD, there's a federal civil rights investigation, there's TEA corrective action that's been requested. Why should parents remain confident in this approach that you've talked about that sounds promising when all of this is going on?
So one of the biggest reasons is because we're changing the system. And when you change the system, we're not just changing one or two things. We're saying we're changing the model to where we have centers, and we're not going to have teachers with 3 or 4 levels of grade levels of kids. And so when you change the system, people who are vested in the status quo, push back, and they like the fact that they have a autism center in that school that they were sending their kid to. And maybe it's in their zone school. And so even though that is not the best thing for the students, because we have 21,000 special education students in this district, we have to do what's best for the vast majority of kids. So there's going to be that kind of pushback. And the reason why I believe the federal government got involved, by the way, we've been working with them, and so far they seem satisfied with what they're doing because there was so much misinformation right out the bat before we even rolled it out. There was a leak, and so people said we were putting kids into special schools or separate schools. Mm-hmm. You were
discriminating against them by moving them away from other learners.
Yes, and separate schools altogether, which everybody knows is illegal, and that we were not servicing them. We were changing their services without asking. All of that not true. That's the sort of misinformation that happens out there, and so we feel confident. Obviously, we're not going to do anything that goes against the law, and obviously TEA is not going to let us do anything that goes against the law, and neither is the federal government. So we are working to explain. We are doing what we have to do to help them understand, the parents and everybody else understand how this works. And one of the biggest points of misinformation or confusion, not always misinformation, confusion, is this notion of location and placement. And the lay person doesn't understand the difference between the two with regard to SPED. Those are synonymous words, location and placement. Placement, though, is the type of services you provide a student. So they're placed in an autism program.
Not behavior. A specific school or specific address.
Right, that's location.
Okay.
Placement is not the same as location. And location is the purview of the administration. Even if the parent disagrees with the location, it's still up to the administration, because otherwise you would never have a center, a hub, if every parent didn't want to send their kids away from their zone school. So there's been that much confusion everywhere about that, and we have not changed placement. We've changed location, and that has been part of the confusion. Still, having said all that, look, I get it. When you have to change a child's school location,
and especially a child with special needs,
that's right. That's going to be tough. We get it. That is tough, and so that sort of concern is totally warranted, not unusual, and totally warranted. So we're working with the parents to make sense of it. And we're trying to accommodate as much as we can. Most of the many of the changes that the child is in a school closer to their home than when they were last year. Mm-hmm. But there's certainly challenges, and there's certainly concerns that are understood.
So we had parents who expressed those concerns about all of this, but specifically about ARD meetings ahead of this new school year. We're running out of time, right? The new school year is here. Did the district have to have an ARD meeting with a family, go over their IEP before they are moved to these different campuses?
So thanks for asking the question real quick, because I know we're running out of time
Yes.
too. But number one, 90% of the families were okay with the location change. We didn't change any IEPs. 90%. So when we made phone calls and said, "Hey, are you okay with this? And will you sign an amendment to the ARD?" Which, by the way, we're over and above the compliance. We didn't have to do, but we did it anyway, just to make sure we are in compliance. 90% said yes, fine, and so they didn't even ask for an ARD. We did have some families ask for an ARD. We're in the process of doing ARDs now. We did some earlier. We'll do some the rest of this week. And most of those will be done before the start of the school year.
Will you get them all done before the start of the school year?
Probably not. There'll be some that we don't have by Monday. And so those that we don't get done by Monday, again, bending over backwards, and this is not a requirement of law, we're going to hold that child in the school that they were in last year, if the parents want that. Until we do the ARD, and we'll get the ARD done within the first, hopefully the first few days.
I want to wrap up this discussion about special education just with parents who express their worry, right? What do you tell them? They're headed into a new school year with this special education plan and things that look very different to them. What's your message to those families?
Yeah, my message to the families is, look, we are going to provide the services that the child warrants through their IEP. So those services are still going to be there, but they're going to be provided even better services. We're going to improve those services, and we're going to improve instruction and help your child reach their potential. This will allow us to do that. We're going to help our SPED teachers be much more effective, because when you only teach 2 grade levels or 1 versus 3 or 5 in some cases, you're going to be able to do a better job with those students. Those students will get better services. And yes, there's a change, but this is the change that many districts have already made, and we're following suit. But it's going to be, in the end, a good thing. We will try to we will try to address any concerns that come up as the school years. And in the beginning of the year, by the way, there's always new ARDs, there's new kids coming in, there's movement from one school to another. That's just the normal business. So there'll be that already. But for parents for which this is new, we're gonna take care of the child. That's the best thing. We're gonna put their interests first, which we always try to do, and we're gonna try to address any concerns that come up. We'll make the teachers and how school teachers are and principals are. They're going to make every child feel welcome. They're going to meet those child's needs. They're going to work with the parents. Right now, it seems a little distant, right? Because we're talking about central office. We're talking about what the district is doing.
Right.
But really,
overwhelming, anxiety-filled for those families.
But really, what happens on the ground is the child goes into school, the teacher greets them, and immediately that is what's needed. Mm-hmm. And the principal and the teacher will see a kid with a name and a family versus a district that, dealing with large numbers like 21,000 and things like that. We care about all kids, but the real magic happens at the school. I mean, I don't teach one kid, neither does anybody on my staff. The teachers teach. The teachers are the one who will work closely with the parents.
I see. Let me ask real quick in summary on special education. Are there deadlines, and will you fulfill those requirements deemed by both the TEA and in working with the federal civil rights investigation as well?
Yeah, we're working closely with the Texas Education Agency and the federal government on the investigations, and we'll make the changes we have to make. Yes, there are requirements. There's compliance requirements that we always meet, that we always have to meet. So we'll continue to do that as well.
You talked a lot about teachers in the special education setting. Let's shift back to our traditional classroom, because we had questions about teachers. Teacher quality and turnover also remain major concerns, as parents expressed within our survey. What is HISD doing to recruit and retain strong teachers, especially during a state intervention?
So one of the things that's a little reported, a couple of things. One is how we are retaining our most effective teachers. We've been able to retain our most effective teachers in about the 90% level. I think at the state level, the average is about 20% turnover. And so our most effective teachers are staying with us.
And how are you able to keep them? How are you retaining them?
Several things. One, we provide high-quality coaching and so that they can be successful. And two, we have the highest salaries in the state of Texas, which is also not
Money
reported
is
often.
always among the biggest motivators
Well,
for everyone.
it's one. I mean, if you're a teacher, it's really a
the
calling.
love of the children, right?
But money still is important. I mean, teachers love kids and they want to do right by kids, but they also need a professional wage. We're not there yet as a profession, providing teachers with a professional wage, but we're getting close. In Houston, the average salary of the returning teachers is going to be $83,000. Average. Nowhere in Texas is that going to be true. And then the other thing that's a little reported is we have no trouble getting teachers. So last year, we had 2 vacancies out of 10,500 teachers. 2.
Only 2.
Only 2 at the start of the school year. The year before that, there was 28. The year before that, it was 0. The year before that, before the intervention, was 580 teacher vacancies at the start of the school year. I think somebody should report on that, because the question then is, why are they coming? So you have
money, I assume, is one of them.
But that's not the only thing. If teachers are leaving because they're disgruntled, maybe teachers are coming because they have a chance to make a real difference for kids, and we're providing the supports for them, and they know we're doing right by kids, and they like the supports. They like the curriculum being provided for them. They like that they don't have to look for texts and materials after 4 o'clock. We give it to them. They like that in the 130 schools, we have teacher apprentices. They like that the copies are made for them. And that word gets out. So yes, it's money, but it's also these supports. And that's the story that's not written. So I think most people are not worried about teacher retention. I'm not worried about teacher retention. The real question is, can you retain your most effective teachers? And teacher retention is not a metric that really that we set and shoot for, because the higher the number, that doesn't mean that's the best for kids. If you were to tell me a district that was struggling, had 121 DNF campuses, and you retained 100% of your teachers, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Right. Yeah.
Probably not a good thing, even though the retention rate is 100%. Mm-hmm. So I could retain more teachers tomorrow just by lowering the standards. We don't have to remove anybody.
I see. So parents did ask about teacher certification and qualification. How do you ensure that every classroom has a qualified teacher? I understand that you don't have vacancies, but are they qualified teachers? What are those qualifications? I think there were families who expressed concern. What is this person doing, or have they done in this position now at the head of the class?
Once again, what is it? I think the average parent is not looking at a teacher certification. I think the average parent wants to have a good, effective teacher in the classroom, and that's my metric too. In other words, we're looking at, yes, we have to have certified teachers by law, but we can do waivers, and that's okay. Meaning this. if the teacher is effectively getting the highest scores that we've ever gotten, and if the whole school is and the district is, we've gotten the highest gains ever. The kids are reading better, doing math better than ever before. Is the first question you're asking whether or not they're certified, or is the first question you should ask, are they effective? I will take.
You think parents are asking the wrong question in this case?
I don't know about parents. I think there are people out there who are looking at.
Well, these are survey questions,
yeah. So whatever group is asking that, I think they should be asking first, are teachers effective? And so then the question, is it more important to be effective or certified? And the two are not highly correlated, by the way. So that's a statistic that people should look into. Does teacher certification matter after the first 2 or 3 years? Research says no, it does not. So the number,
it's whomever is getting the best results.
Exactly.
I see.
And so that's a question. And then the question is, so how can you get effective results with new teachers? How is that possible? Why are you able to do it that other districts aren't? And the answer is because we provide on-the-job feedback, very effective coaching of instruction right off the bat. We train them better than anybody on high-quality instruction. We don't leave it to chance. We have great professional development, but most of all, we have principals and teacher leaders who are coaching new teachers and how to get up to speed quickly. And so that's how we're getting it done.
Let's talk student safety. So parents continue to raise concerns about pedestrian safety. This is straight from our survey questions. Near Lamar High School, what is the district doing to advocate for improvements? That is a high traffic area. It's been a high construction area as well, very visible even to the community in passing. Again, parents want to know what's being done, what improvements around Lamar High School.
So, part of that answer is mine to answer, and part of it is for the city to answer. I'm not in charge of traffic, and I'm not in charge of, traffic patterns or, what happens whether there's a stoplight or not.
But you do want to ensure the safety of the children coming and going.
Yeah, and that's why I said part of it is my answer, but part of it's the city, and the city has agreed and is due to put in one of those lights. I forget what they call it.
It's a pedestrian crossing light, I think, or something similar to it.
Yeah, it has a special name, like a hawk light or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that needs to be put in place. It was agreed that the city would do that by Lamar. And so we'll see if that happens. But that's the biggest thing that we can do. Again, I can't control traffic. What we have done last year, at big cost, and we want help with this from the city, is we had 2 police officers, being traffic crossing guards at the main crossing that we're talking about near Lamar, and that is not an efficient use of resources, and that's actually not the job, right? The city should be providing.
We'll follow up with the city as well to see too, but I'm sure you're going to be inquiring with them.
We're going to continue to have an officer and a crossing guard there until the light goes up.
Got it. Beyond physical safety, how are you helping students feel seen and safe? Bullying was the number one safety concern among all parents who took the survey.
So we have lots of programs at the school level to do, bully prevention. We also we're following the Texas guidelines, Texas education guidelines on bully prevention. So that happens. At our middle schools, our number of discipline and bullying incidents are down, especially at what we call the NES schools, 130 schools. And across the district, the number of bullying incidents are down. Still, I've been at this a long time. Bullying and safety are always a concern, and that's the number one concern in school is student safety. Mm-hmm. So all the principals have been trained. They also have their own programs around bully prevention, and so we will just continue to do that. it's a sign of our time, sign of the times that we have a lot of,
Bullying
threats.
has new forms now.
Well, threats of violence, but also social media bullying and things like that. And so that's going to continue to be a priority for us. People may be interested to know that in the NES schools, there's only 3 big rules in the school.
Three big discipline rules?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
At the district level that all NES schools follow. No disrespect for any adult, period. You can't disrupt the learning environment, and you cannot bully. And if you violate those 3 rules, then you will be removed from the classroom environment. You may or may not be sent home, depends on the severity of the infraction. But most of the kids, it's little stuff, and they get sent to the team center where they zoom back into the classroom. So we don't want to just kick kids to the home,
Kick them out,
and send them home. We don't want to do that because that has its own abuses, right? You just
absolutely, and it also disrupts their learning.
Yes. So, but my point here is that that's one of the 3 biggies for us.
Is bullying.
No bullying.
Let's talk about AI, because parents express their concern with artificial intelligence, and they want students to learn how to use it responsibly. How is HISD ensuring AI enhances learning rather than replaces learning for students?
We don't have a lot of additional AI at the classroom level right now than we've always had. So we have some platforms like you may have heard of Zern Math or a Mira. Those are platforms that have been enhanced by AI. But most of our teaching is done old school, meaning with paper and pen and packets. Meaning, remember, we've been criticized for having too many packets. That's not AI. Those are worksheets that are challenging and things that the kids use in the team centers. So we have novels and we have paper novels, not just
traditional
forms of
education.
Yeah. I mean, some of the lessons are online. We don't want to have no lessons online because the STAR exam and other real world text is online. So it's not total, no screen time.
Right, because you do want to meet them where society is
a little bit, right? We
well.
don't want to go overboard. But, I mean, again, we've been criticized for having too many pieces of paper, and so that's the standard mode. Having said all that, at the central office level, we're trying to use AI to be more efficient and to make sure that we can do spreadsheets faster and other things that adults need to use. At the school level, what we've done is we've had, for teachers, we've had AI workshops, how to use AI in the workplace. We've had an elective for high schoolers, that's a voluntary elective, which is AI in the workplace elective.
Oh, that's for students at the high school level.
And we've had that now for 2 years, going on 3.
Does that attract quite a few students?
Yeah. It's I think they're full. I don't know the latest numbers, but it's an elective that many students take advantage of. I can say that. And then we are piloting some use of AI in 2 schools in Future 2 schools. It's called Future 2 schools.
The schools, yes.
And 2 of the Future 2 schools. In the morning for kids who are proficient, they can volunteer. They don't have to use it. They can use math or language arts on an AI-enabled platform. So they can learn that way if that's what they want.
And is that at the elementary, middle, or high school level?
It's at the it's a K-8, but it's only for 3rd through 8th grade.
I see.
And only the kids who are proficient in those 2 subjects.
So you're testing it there. Is the idea that it will ultimately expand to other campuses as well?
Well, so we're piloting, so I don't know is the answer. But some students do better on a virtual platform. Some or on an online platform, and most kids don't. So if that's your mode of learning, we should give them, we want to see if this helps them move even faster. For them, they don't have to. But if it is, then that's great. And, down the road, we want to make sure that our students have a good balance. The Future 2 schools, for example, is not an AI school like some people describe. What it is they get to learn the competencies that kids need to be able to engage an AI-enabled world. So like what competencies? Working in teams. That's not something you get on a screen. That's something where you work together.
Right.
Or critical thinking, or decision-making and problem-solving, working together on a problem. Not on a screen, on a problem. The study of cultures, understanding culture, perspective. Those are competencies we want our kids to have. Emotional intelligence, competencies we think kids need now more than ever, so that when they get to high school and when they graduate, they'll be better problem solvers. They'll be able to work in teams. They'll understand different cultures better, have a wider perspective, all of that. That's what Future 2 is. And so we're not doubling down at this moment on AI. We're doubling down on the competencies that kids need before they get to an AI-enabled world. To say that there's not going to be an AI-enabled world is just living in the dark.
It's here already.
It's here, yeah.
Yes.
And it's just going to grow. So what do we do about that?
So in closing, we're a few years into the new education system, and a question that we have from parents: how long until the state intervention ends?
So I'm not in charge of that, but the Commissioner of Education is, and he has said publicly, and he has the right to change his mind or to change, or I might get it wrong, but that this fourth year is the last formal year of the intervention. After this year, if we continue to have the gains that we have, then he will end the intervention, and there will be a transition period back to an elected board. What that looks like, again, is up to the Commissioner of Education, but what he has said publicly so far is that he would probably bring 3 elected board members in the 27-28 school year, 3 more in the 28-29 school year, and then the last 3 in the 29-30 school year. So it'll take a while to transition, but that's the plan.
Any milestones, programs, activities to look forward to in 2026, 2027 for the kids?
The 3 priorities I think I've already touched on. Literacy. We want to make sure our SPED success program goes well, our student success program goes well, the special education program. And then the Future 2, looking forward to those 9 schools doing really well.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for your time and for answering all of these parent questions. I know they appreciate the communication and the insight. Wishing you, the staff, and all the students at HISD the very best and very productive school year. Thank you.
Thank you very much.